All right. Good evening. This is a call to order for the regular Bridgeport Board of Education meeting. Today's February 10th. We're at Aquaculture School and it's 6:40. We're gonna rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Benningham, can you do the roll call?
Good evening, everyone. Akicha Casimir,
Present.
Mr. William Medina, Ms. Jennifer Perez,
Present.
Mr. Joseph Sokoliv,
Present.
Mr. Robert Traver,
Here.
Mr. Andrew Watson,
Present.
Christine Baptiste Perez,
Thank you. We're gonna hear from our student representatives. We'll hear from the ones here in person and then we'll go to the online ones. So we'll start at the end. You can go first. You can sit right there and then the microphone you just press the button.
Good evening, board. My name is Daniela Gomez, and I am a junior at Fairchild Wheeler Biotech. I would like to start by giving a huge shout out to our Biotechnology National Honor Society for organizing our soccer tournament that will be going on tomorrow after school. I'm also happy to share that our blood drive on January 31st was a huge success. And thanks to our generous donors, we have collected 30 pints of blood that will help save lives. Also, as we enter February's activities concerning Black History Month and Valentine's Day fundraisers are undergo. And finally, Biotech is hosting a perfect attendance competition for all classes with these prizes. If a class has 10 perfect attendance days, they will win breakfast with our principal, Mr. Channer. If they have 15 perfect attendance days, they will win biotech gear. And if they have 20 perfect attendance days, they will win a pizza party. So that's all for biotech. Thank you and have a good night.
Pass the mic down.
Hello. Okay. Good evening, board. My name is Christian Bika, and I am an 11th grader at Central High School. And I wanted to take a moment to share some exciting updates about Central and the great work being done by our students and our staff as well. Okay, if you can hear me. Okay, so our boys and girls basketball teams, they are making extremely strong progress towards the state playoffs, and we are very proud of their hard work and their dedication in our school. Additionally, two of our talented student athletes were recently nominated for the FCAC Athlete of the Week, and that was for their outstanding performances in the sport of track. They have also shown dedicated athletic strain representing us. Now, in terms of courses, we are also preparing for course selection for next year. And right now we are focusing on our 9 and 10 grader underclassmen as they get equipped to the inner workings of the school more. We are also working to expand college and career opportunities for our students by partnering with Goodwin College so that we can develop new career pathways for the students themselves. And February 28th, the National Honor Society, which I'm a part of, it will hold a blood drive in sponsorship with the Red Cross. And we have a set goal so that we can receive as much blood as possible during the shortage. And we are also continuing to raise money for our school and causes by holding bake sales and drink stands within the school that we contribute to. And for March 10th, we want to have a wonderful health day so that we can promote wellness. And at the school itself, we also are continuing to promote Black History Month so that we can honor and recognize all of the wonderful contributions of Black leaders and history makers. And the event is still on for late February that we know the board will come to. Now I'll set the day on that, but We look forward to keeping you updated on even more info as we continue to strive on our progress and achievements. That's all from Central. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bernadette,
Yes.
go ahead.
Hi, my name is Bernadette Kadaisi, and I attend Fairchild Wheeler Aerospace. Thank you for the opportunity to present on behalf of my school. I share a few updates from our school and overall campus. Tomorrow, we will be honoring our high-achieving students who made first and second honors, as well as those who show growth and tenacity throughout the first semester. Next week, the installation of our flight simulator is planned for Tuesday, February 18th. As students, we're so excited to have this new piece of technology as part of our aerospace education. Also, our Disney field trip is on the agenda this evening, and we are hopeful for the approval from the full board. This trip was a huge success last year. Students will again get an inside look at the engineering of various rides and learn from real-life theme park engineers. Finally, we're planning fun Black History Month activities for the last week of February. While we understand he is very busy as our superintendent, we would be honored if Dr. Avery accepts the forthcoming invitation to come to our campus to speak as part of our celebrations. Thank you again for the opportunity to represent Aero.
Thank you. And then Geronimo?
Good evening, board members. I am Geronimo Restrepo, Junior Representative for Fairchild Wheeler IT. We recently finished benchmark testing using a nationally recognized norm reference test, NWEA. This assessment gives us the opportunity to see how we stack up against the rest of the nation. Our students showed significant growth, ranking in the 82nd percentile for students who met or exceeded their growth projection. This percentile ranking is compared to the rest of the nation who took the same benchmark test in September and January. Two IT students won and one received honorable mentions of the 2025 Aspirations in Computing Award from the National Center for Women and Information Technology. They're recognized for their interest, aptitude, leadership, and aspirations to use technology to solve problems and positively impact humanity. Their exemplary leadership, academic history, and forward thinking set them to win this recognition. The award will be presented at a celebration in Hartford in the spring. A new professional grade embroidery machine has been ordered and will be housed in our makerspace soon. Once set up, we will be sending out forms where people can customize school gear. All proceeds will go back to supporting school activities and technology upgrades. Lastly, IT will hold our Semester 1 awards on Wednesday, February 12th, and where students will receive awards for their outstanding achievement in a class in combination of first and second honors. That's it from IT. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other student reps here? Come on to the table. Yep. Can you pass them the microphone?
Good evening, board members. I'm Adian Lashman. I'm a senior at Harding High School. To start off, Harding High School had their first successful blood drive on January 16th, reaching an overflow of willful blood donors. We received 26 total pints of blood, and we maxed out on our appointments and walk-ins as well. We consider that a very successful blood drive, and we are planning another one currently for March. During the month of February, Harding Students Council has actively been working on spreading awareness to the celebration of Black History Month through the use of posters around the school, along with daily announcements speaking about quotes and accomplishments of historic Black artists, activists, and more. As this is in progress, our history classes are also actively educating our students on various events pertaining to African American history as well. Harding's HOSA Club and Medical Magnet are currently in preparation for the upcoming HOSA competition, in which our members will be participating in a statewide competition, testing our knowledge on certain healthcare topics against other schools in Connecticut. The cognitive exam will be taking place between February 24th and March 4th, with the HOSA conference / round 2 being the practical portion of it, being March 21st at Naugatuck Community College. We are expecting lots of state awards this year. Last but not least, Harding's boys basketball and wrestling team have been performing extravagantly in their fields, winning multiple games against their opposers, and overall have been having a successful season. We are always cheering and supporting for them. Go Presidents. That's all. Thank you.
Thank all the student representatives for presenting tonight. Does anybody have any questions for? Thank you all. We're gonna move on to public comment. Nobody signed up for public comment for today. So we're gonna go ahead and go on to the approval of meeting minutes for the regular meeting, January 27th, 2025.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes for the regular meeting, January 27th, 2025.
Seconded, moved by Mr. Sakalovic and seconded by Mr. Medina. Any discussion on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstention or any noes? Any abstentions? And let the record reflect that Mr. Woodson has joined us in person. The next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. The board met on February 1st in a special meeting for retreat to start improving board relations. And so that was attended by most of the board members. And so we are going to start there, and then hopefully the next few weeks we'll be getting an updated training schedule for the trainings that we're going to be having with CABE. At the meeting, we decided to use CABE as a trainer for us to help us with board relations. Additionally, we're awaiting word from the state that for approval of using CABE. So so far it looks like it's promising, and we're just fine tuning some things. CABE is working on a training program for us. Any questions? That's all I have for today. Mr. Sakalovic?
Yes, Madam Chair. As far as the superintendent search committee, have we reached out and spoke to the firm yet? Oh, they go to honor.
I've reached out to the firm. I'm waiting a response, so I'll follow up with that this week.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we'll look at committee reports. The finance committee will start.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, at the last finance meeting, the following was discussed. Some programming cuts that were previously discussed at the instruction and support services on the agenda this evening. Had a discussion about the bit about the relay contract. Myself, the chair, had some question as to the structure of the contract payments and whether any ESSA funding was left on the table. Although it was discussed and explained at committee, I was still unclear if it was followed up via email. I am now clear it has been communicated that no ESSA funds were lost and funds were shifted to other allowable uses. Then there was the 25-26 budget presentation. Began that discussion with the continuation of the 24-25 reductions. And to date, if tonight's cuts are approved, we will be an additional $1.2 million to closing the 24-25 revenue gap, thereby reducing the reliance on our internal service savings fund. We got a first look at the 25-26 budget. These numbers aren't final. They could go up and down by a few percent depending on factors beyond our control. And it's projected at this time, assuming that all the superintendent's proposed cuts to date are approved, there still needs to be about $24 million in additional cuts, assuming we leave the recommended $5 million in the internal service fund reserve. The governor came out with his proposed budget, and Bridgeport ECS, including Alliance, is listed to increase for fiscal year 2026 by $10.74 million, which is reflected in the budget document. However, I'm told this number was revised downward by $300,000. Most concerning is that the governor's budget is that for fiscal year 2027, it is flat funded and no increase is proposed at all. Our costs escalate about $10 to $12 million a year. If this not as soon as we finish this year's budget, we must start looking at $10 to $12 million in more cuts. We have to advocate for Bridgeport's fair share. That being said, there will be a public hearing on the governor's proposed budget on Thursday, February 20th at 3 p.m. in Hartford. I'd like to call another quick finance meeting remotely to create some talking points to be put up on the board website and in Parent Square, along with instructions for the public on how to sign up to speak to the budget. If tonight's cuts off, that's actually all I have. For the last meeting. And we also discussed that there's a false narrative running around out there that we're gonna be bankrupt, that the district is not gonna finish the year with a balanced budget. We will finish 24-25 with a balanced budget, and 25-26, there's still things that need to be done to meet our benchmarks, which I believe we will do. But the most important piece in my mind is to advocate, because every $1 million we get is $1 million less harm that comes to our children in our district. So I don't have a meeting date yet for the next meeting, but accept referrals at this time.
Any referrals? All right, thank you. Instruction and Support Services Committee.
We had a committee meeting last week where we passed cuts that are on the budget tonight and approved the field trip, and that's on the committee on the agenda tonight. So I need to schedule another meeting because there were some items that we tabled. So thank you, sir. So I'm waiting to hear when finance and policy and facilities are scheduled. I see facilities is scheduled. We have some other meetings that are coming up, including the state budget hearing that Mr. Sakalovic just mentioned. So I'm trying to juggle when those are. The items that are tabled have to do with special education, items that I had on my agenda for last week's meeting, as well as a look at the results of the mid-year testing that I spoke to Dr. Saki about. So that's what I have on the agenda for that meeting. I need to have it I'm hoping to have it next week. I just have to find an available slot to have the meeting, because my regular Wednesday is not going to be available this month because I'll be away. So I'm looking to schedule that next week. When I talk to my colleagues and we find that available slot, I'll schedule it and post it.
Are there any referrals to the Instruction and Support Services Committee? Let the record show Ms. Baptiste Perez has joined online. And Policy and Personnel Committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As is posted, we have not met. We were due to meet this Wednesday. You know, there's some other meetings that might be a conflict, so that will be determined. We have 5 items that have already been referred, and I think somebody else is making another referral. So I'm waiting for that. That way I can pass it over for the agenda, time and location to be determined. And I'll take any referrals.
Are there any referrals to Policy and Personnel? All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Facilities Committee, the next meeting for the Facilities Committee will be this week on February 12th. Due to the inclement weather, we're going to hold that virtually at 5 p.m. Any referrals to facilities? Mr. Whitson?
Want to make a referral to the committee for changing the name of Hardin Auditorium.
Okay.
So I made a referral to the committee for renaming of the Hardin Auditorium.
Thank you. Any other referrals? Yes, Wednesday. Mhm. All right, moving on, we have the CABE report. I don't have any updates. We did have a legislative breakfast, about 2 weeks ago where we, just heard the different issues around Fairfield County, the other school districts and our district as well, and, listened to some of the legislators who came out, for some of the proposals, and, a big focus will be, special education, this year. Funding special education, and, we also, I saw in the email that March 12th is a day on the Hill, which is like a lobby day. And so I'm encouraging board members to sign up to that. It's from 9 to 11 in the morning. So check your emails for that. You can sign up. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, we've got attorneys here. Is it possible we could move the superintendent's report till after the attorneys are here? Because the attorneys are billing hourly.
Want to make a motion?
Make a motion to move the superintendent's report to last on the agenda.
Second.
It was moved by Mr. Sokolovich, seconded by Mr. Medina. Is there any discussion on that? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? No. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Dr. Avery's report will go at the end. Save the best for last. How about that? All right, so we're gonna go into unfinished business. This was tabled last meeting, and Mr. Anastasi is gonna come up. It's a public session briefing and discussion with the Board Education Council concerning two things: the process by which the board exercises its power and authority as a public agency, and the relationship between the respective powers of authority of the board and superintendent of schools, including as regards to the hiring of district staff and their separation from employment for fiscal reasons. So, Mr. Anastasi, you just have to turn your mic on.
But if you can indulge me, I'm gonna jump over the first one and ask you to table the second item. And the reason for tabling the second item is that the second item is not a matter that's appropriate for discussion in public session at this time. And it should be tabled and not appear on subsequent meeting agendas unless and until so requested by the board's legal staff. And the reason for this is because under the Connecticut Freedom of Information Act 1-206A and B, definition of executive sessions, and 1-210B2, personnel files, the disclosure of which would constitute an invasion of personal privacy, and 4, records pertaining to strategy and negotiations with respect to pending claims or pending litigation to which the public agency is a party until such litigation or claim is finally adjudicated or otherwise settled, are appropriate matters for executive session. I think the intent is, as you probably are well aware, in fact, you are well aware, you're embroiled in some efforts to streamline the workforce, and that has given rise to certain claims and filings on behalf of impacted individuals. So I think it would be appropriate that if and when there are any proposed resolutions to be submitted to the board for approval, that will be resuscitate this item and or a substitute item, and it'll be proper for executive session. This follows on what was discussed on the 27th in executive session. So with that lead in, I would respectfully ask that you entertain a motion to table 10A2 at this time, and then we'll talk about 10A1 if you don't mind.
Motion to table item number 10A, Roman numeral 2.
Moved by Mr. Sokolovich, seconded by Mr. Traber. Any debate on that? Or All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries.
Thank you. With respect to item 1, I have 3 handouts, and we probably should do them separately and talk about each one in turn. I don't necessarily expect you to exhaust any questions you might have tonight, but certainly we can entertain some preliminary ones. If we have to talk more in a subsequent meeting, be happy to do that. The first item you may actually have already received. It's a January 27th letter, Ray, creation of the agendas for board committee meetings. I believe, if I recall correctly, I provided copies of that previously through the superintendent, but for anybody that doesn't have it, we have more. And the most important aspect of this is it's probably something at this juncture that you'd be best served just taking, reading, holding, deciding whether you agree or disagree with it, but not necessarily, thank you, not necessarily delve too far into it tonight, because frankly, as I note herein, it's quite likely that as you go through training with the state board, that there may be a different take, or there may be a need to amend. In fact, I know there's a need to amend your bylaws. We have issues of, frankly, what bylaws are currently in place, and then we have issues in terms of conflicting bylaws, regardless of what set is in place, in terms of how to create an agenda. And a lot of this is discretionary to you. As a board, you can decide certain things. For instance, there's standing committees and there's special committees, and then there's ad hoc committees. I think the expectation and the intent on the part of the board was the previous 4, 5, or 6 committees, and now 3 combined committees, were probably always intended to be standing committees because they were of a permanent duration for the entire term. However, if you read your bylaws, at least the version that's online, there's no mention of standing committees. There's only special committees. And when you look at the definition of a special committee only can address matters that are referred to it by the full board. You may want to give more discretion to the committees to raise items that are within their purview. I know on the city council side, for comparison, they have probably 8 standing committees. Those committees only address matters specifically referred to them by the full board, with the exception that they're empowered to meet on informational sessions with department heads who come within their jurisdiction. For instance, the Public Safety Committee meets periodically with the police chief, the fire chief, the chief of not Homeland Security, whatever the other group we have that mirrors that. So, but those are discretionary. You guys can decide how you want to do it. You also can decide whether you want the committee co-chairs to establish their own agendas, or whether you want to do it in conjunction with the chair, or however you want to handle it. Those types of discussions, there's probably not a great deal of urgency or reason to discuss that as we sit here today, because whatever you're doing probably seems to be working for the moment. On the other hand, as I said, you're going to get some input, probably whether you want it or not, from the state, and it may very well help to guide you as to how to revise the bylaws, which are in dire need of revision, regardless of what version we're working off of. So instead of fighting about which version it is, we're better off starting with a whole new set with the state down the road. So that is more or less for information. If somebody wants to ask a question now, I'll be happy to entertain it and try to answer it, but it's really a waste of time in my estimation. If you're functioning effectively with your committees today, keep doing what you're doing for a few more weeks or months, and we'll see where it goes. The next item is something that's really informational. Some of you have seen this. Those of you who are longer duration of the board have probably seen a version of this in the past. And this I did not pass out previously. It's a document entitled Exercise of Bridgeport Board of Education Powers. And basically, it's a short iteration of There's nothing magical to this. It's well-established law. It applies not just to you, it applies to all boards and commissions. It's settled law that as a board, you act at a public meeting as a body with official votes. Individual board members have no greater authority than a member of the public unless delegated by the full board, which you can certainly do by motion. You can delegate to a committee or to an individual to represent the board on certain matters. But short of that, you only meet, thank you.
Mr. Nisami, can you email this to us so that I can send it to Ms. Baptiste-Perez and Ms. Casimir when you're done?
No, I can certainly email it. The superintendent can get it to all of you, probably the best way.
Okay. Thank you.
But again, for those of you who have been here, this is not new news. This is just sort of a reinforcement. And this was done primarily just to lay the groundwork. So the state came in and knew, frankly, that you knew what you were doing and how you're doing it. And you recognize the limits of your authority. And that as a public agency, you act as a group at a duly noticed public meeting, blah, blah, blah. So there's nothing magical about that. The third document, there's really not anything magical here other than it's some selected elements from the Connecticut FOI, and it's somewhat confusing. Danielle and I have been talking about these items in terms of how to deal with fully virtual meetings or meetings that are partially electronic and partially in person. I guess to the credit of the board, you've gone above and beyond over the years, attempting to, and not only attempting, but probably successfully, allowing the public to witness your meetings through various electronic means and I'm not sure what the term is, but I guess you have various opportunities for the public to witness what goes on. One of which is Danielle setting up meetings where the public can actually be heard. The other is witnessing it. If you look at these sections, there are some pretty stringent criteria in terms of noticing. And this came up in recent weeks with the chair and with the superintendent and his staff in terms of you're not obligated by any means to run a fully electronic session or a partially electronic session. But if you do, there's certain requirements that you have to comply with, and they're notice requirements. So if you're going to run a full board meeting or a committee meeting where some of the individual, and this is probably it's probably not the first. All the recent meetings that I've attended, at least the full board meetings, appear to have a combination of in-person and electronic participation. When you do that, the public has to similarly be able to witness, not necessarily be heard, but witness. If, on the other hand, it's a meeting that does allow for public input, not a committee meeting per se, but a regular meeting where you have a public speaking portion. If you're going to allow public speaking in person, you have to allow public speaking through the electronic as well. And that's not, I mean, it's tough for me because I'm not very technically adept, but I'm sure it's not tough for your IT people to arrange for that. The people only get to speak when their turn comes up and they're muted the rest of the time, so they don't participate in your deliberation on non-public speaking matters. But you have to have that capacity. The more important piece is if you jump to page, let's see, I believe page 3. If you go to page 3 at the bottom, subsection C, it says any public agency other than the General Assembly that conducts a special meeting shall include in the notice of meeting whether it will be conducted solely or in part by means of electronic equipment. And this applies to both solely or in part, and not less than 24 hours prior to such meeting, shall post such notice and an agenda of the meeting in accordance with the provisions of subsection D of 1-225. And then it goes on to say, if such special meeting is to be conducted by means of electronic equipment, which means solely, I believe, because it doesn't say partially, but it says shall include instructions for the public by means of electronic equipment. Actually, I'll back off of that. I think it applies to either one. It says shall include instructions for the public by means of electronic equipment or in person to attend and provide comment or otherwise participate in the meeting as applicable and permitted by law. So that doesn't mean they participate in everything. Again, that means they only participate in the sections that they're allowed to participate in. So there's certain requirements. And then if you jump up to B, above that, it says any public agency that conducts a meeting other than executive session, blah, 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 solely by means of electronic equipment. So that reinforces that C applies to both partially and completely. B is solely. You have to provide any member of the public upon written request, and Danielle does this regularly, the ability to come to a physical spot and participate. If you have in-person and electronic, you're relieved of that obligation. But these two sections, I'm sort of led to believe may not have been religiously adhered to, not through any fault of anyone, but most likely because we as council have not given appropriate advice and guidance in a timely manner to the board. But in any case, these are the types of things that when you recognize an issue, you address it, and they're the types of things that when you get training from the state, I'm sure they'll focus on and make certain that we're doing things appropriately. In fact, it wouldn't shock me if they don't. Someone on the state side doesn't sit and witness all these meetings as we go forward. Yes, sir.
All right. We actually have adhered to that. We have posted notice that if an individual is in need of the technological assistance, that we provide them.
Let me just cut you off because I probably wasn't clear. I have no doubt you've done that perfectly for the full board meetings. I'm not sure you've done that perfectly for committee meetings.
Well, that's what I was getting at. We have done that for the regular board meetings, full board meetings. But you're saying we need to do that for committee meetings too?
There's still a meeting of a public agency, and this is something we talked about the other night. My follow-up conversations with Danielle, I believe, was to the effect that we may, in certain instances, have failed to adhere to that. Again, unintentionally, correct it going forward. If I'm wrong, Danielle, jump in and correct me, but I think we want to make sure that prospectively we're religiously adhering to this stuff.
Okay. And then the second question that I had for you was, are you saying that if we do a fully online meeting, we have to allow, well, no, if we do a hybrid meeting like this, we have to allow for hybrid public speaking?
I believe you have to allow the public to participate online the same way they would participate in person, so the answer to that would be yes.
Yes.
What you don't have to do is provide the public space for them to, if you're doing a hybrid meeting, you don't have to provide the public space, as I understand it, for people to sit in front of your equipment, because if they're coming to the meeting, they can sit in person. They don't need to sit with the equipment. So that's why B and C are different.
I'm asking because we in fact had allowed, and recently I've had this discussion with some of my colleagues, we used to allow people to call in to speak, and then that stopped. And so I was asking why we weren't doing it anymore, and we thought that we didn't need to anymore. And so now I'm asking your opinion that we do need to.
I think you are required to do it in any case. I think to the extent there's a capacity to do that, I don't see a downside to that. It, correct.
We're doing a fully in-person meeting.
No, I get it, but this is a hybrid meeting.
Right, we're
By
creating
all
hybrid.
stretch, we have members not here, we have public not here who are observing. We have other participants like our student reports who are either participating from home or participating here. So it is a hybrid meeting.
That would be one question I would ask though, and I'm sorry, Mark, is student reports, if the full board is here in person, do the students giving their reports online count as creating a hybrid meeting? They're not part of the public, the agency.
Well, they are part of the meeting to the extent they're on the agenda,
So
and they're representatives of the
Absolutely.
district, so
Yeah.
I would say yes.
creates a
What I can do is have someone, either me or someone else in the office who deals with FOI, do a double check with FOI in terms of when you're dealing with, when you have to allow the public to participate electronically. You can talk to Dina on that, or,
Yeah, and I'll reach the commission.
okay. All right, so
Thank you.
again, these are the types of things that, for better or worse, these are technical issues that presumably whoever you consult with and work with in your training is going to get into some of this technical stuff. I'm sure they'll get into some strategic stuff and how to also naturally improve internal and external communications so everybody's rowing in the same direction for the benefit of the students. But some of it's going to be this type of technical stuff, which didn't exist years ago, but because of COVID has now come into play. So probably the best thing is take a look at this in anticipation of your training, and at a subsequent meeting, if there's more questions, we'll be happy to answer them. If you have any more tonight, be happy to deal with those, but I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you got other business. So, and if there's no more questions, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna move on to new business. The first item does qualify for executive session. It's discussion and possible approval of settlement authority. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Are you making? You have to put your microphone on.
I move that we go into executive session for discussion and possible approval of settlement authority for San Rivera versus Bridgeport Board of Ed.
Second.
It was moved by Mr. Traver, seconded.
Before you vote.
And we will include,
I'll announce that. That was seconded by Mr. Sokolovic. Going into session will be, sir, what's your name again? Bruce Levin, attorney. Okay, former judge, associate city attorney, will be going into session with us. Do we need any personnel? No, that's it, right? We're gonna vote. Gotcha, I got it. I don't, is that all who's going in?
you don't need anyone else?
All right, so we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, Ms. Casimir, Ms. Betty Perez, a link was sent to you, so you could join that link from Tim. Thank you. Okay, it's 8:04. We're back from executive session. Is there a motion? If you have one, put your mic on. All right, Mr. Traber.
I move that we approve the settlement. Move that we approve a settlement. We give a, how would it? I move the approval of a settlement for Santa Rivera versus the Bridgeport Board of Ed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Benahan. Any further debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Mr. Henry, you're up. We're gonna talk about the Fairchild Wheeler magnet school trip to Disney World. Just hit the microphone.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Education representatives, and Dr. Avery. My name is Dave Henry. I'm the principal of the Aero School at Fairchild Wheeler, and I'm accompanied tonight by Ms. Stephanie Perez, Mr. Ernest Childs, who's one of my fathers of a student at Aero. Tonight, we are seeking your approval of the field trip that we've planned to Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, with a change in the original dates. While we were unable to secure the originally proposed March dates, we are hoping the board can approve the field trip with the change of the stated dates of March 12th to 16th to the new proposed dates of May 22nd to 26th. We currently have 18 students signed up, 3 chaperones, 2 of which are here with me, and another one of my teachers. And again, I thank the Instructional Support and Services Committee for recommending this item to the full board, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any board members have questions? Ms. Casimir, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to make sure, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to ask about, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back to the form. I wanted to ask about the itinerary. Can the board be sent the itinerary? Because I noticed that you guys mentioned it on the report that there is one, so I know one exists. I just wanted to know. If
I
we
think
could
for
email.
the safety of the students going, we don't usually put that as a public document.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Move that we approve.
Okay, go ahead.
Do that. That we approve the field trip of Fairchild Wheeler Interdistrict Magnet High School Aerospace out of state field trip to Disney Imagination Campus STEM/engineering experience at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida.
I second.
Moved by Mr. Traber, seconded by Mr. Benahan. Is there any debate? You have a question?
Point of information, just want
Yes.
to make sure that it is as amended, not as reported, because there is an amendment to it that was made with the dates. So I just want to make sure it reflects. I don't know if that's our responsibility. Just want to make sure.
I'm approving,
original-
I'm moving the field trip without a date, so.
Yeah, so there's no date on it. So if they change it.
Motion.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All in favor, okay. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Have food. Be safe.
The next item on the agenda is discussion and approval to the full board, the 2025-2026 school year calendar. Dr. Avery or Mr. Carafa.
Good evening. Okay, today I'm here looking to get our 2025-26 calendar approved. We've had multiple meetings with the BEA, BCAS, members of the PDAC committee. We were working in a collaborative process to look at surrounding districts, surrounding calendars to come up with our calendar, which we did.
with the group. We brought it in front of the instructional committee meeting, which was then referred to the full board. And right now, we're looking for the full board to be able to approve this calendar. And one of the things with the calendar is that because of scheduling and things that high schools need to do, we need to get the calendar approved so we can start student requests, we can start the scheduling process and everything else that goes on with scheduling throughout the year.
Madam Chair,
Can I ask a question, or you want to have a question?
no question. I just make a motion to approve of the full board, the 2025, 2026 school year's calendar.
Second.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
The 2-hour PD days, are those like half days or is that,
No,
in addition?
they're just marked so that everyone knows now they're going to be 2-hour PD days. The BEA asked us to notate it, which we did on the calendar. This is the first time. So everyone's aware of those 2-hour PD days.
Follow.
Yeah, follow up on that. See, I asked my question. Are those in addition to the ones that happen on the half days on Wednesdays or just replacing them? The PDs?
Oh, you mean those 2-hour ones?
Yes.
So Dr. Avery, you may be able to answer that one.
Not for sure they're additional hours, but I think it was part of the agreement with the unions that we have some targeted campus level PDs and district level PD for 2-hour stints. They've been doing it for a little bit. It's an addition to. And I think they really wanted to make sure that they noted it on the calendar, and that's why you see it noted on each of the monthly calendars, those 2-hour additional PD days, PD opportunities.
Thank you.
Mr. Traber?
Yeah, are you saying that there are other PDs that are not 2 hours on a
Yes.
Wednesday?
They're half days.
Right, are there other half days where they're not 2-hour PDs?
These are additional 2 hours. There's usually 4 hours.
Wait, hold on. Let's get your mic.
Yeah. There's an extra one over here. Or you can step up with ingoing PD.
So there are 2-hour PDs, that's standard. There's 2-hour PDs that are after the full day of school, and there's 2-hour PD that is on a half day. So the 2-hour that is indicating is right, it's after our full day of school for the teachers. So the BEA has asked us to indicate that.
Those are after a full day school.
After full day of school.
I got you.
Okay, thanks.
They're having one of those on Wednesday of this week. There's an after school, there's a 2-hour PD it's not noted on this year's calendar, but again, moving forward, we're just going to note it.
Right. So this is like from 3 to 5 or from 2:30 to 4.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll take the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is discussion and possible approval of curriculum programs for elimination. Ms. Hughes.
Good evening. My name is Marge Hughes. I'm the Executive Director of School Turnaround. Unfortunately, Dr. Saki is feeling ill tonight and asked me to speak on his behalf. First, I want to thank the Academic Division Content Coordinators, Director of Grants, the Director of IT, and Executive Directors for the work, the cumulative work that we put together in going through all of the resources, the programs, and the contracts to come up with a cumulative savings of $1.2 million that we're proposing to the board for programs and contracts to be eliminated. To begin with, we're proposing cutting the $590,000 IXL site licenses and professional development for their usage. This is a curricular resource for social studies. We're proposing another $400,000 in cuts to discovery education, professional development. Discovery education is a core curricular resource for science. We revise a quote for Khan Academy, revise the quote downward, resulting in a savings of $160,000. We also had a downward revision of $53,000 for sheltered instruction. professional development, and we're removing a cell program called Move the World because we replaced it with another program for a savings of 8,000. That equals a total of 1.2 million. Any questions or comments?
Any questions from the board? Mr. Medina, microphone.
I'm just wondering if this was part of our packet, was
Yeah.
that printed out to us?
It's in your portal.
Yeah, not, okay, just
It's in the portal for today's meeting.
got you. I think I know where it is, I just took a photo, but
This was we presented to the instructional committees, subcommittee.
Just to clarify, and I was in that meeting and I believe these are programs that we're eliminating that have, some of them have low usage.
Low usage or programs that we have found alternatives for that we could use in their place.
Any further questions? Mr. Medina?
are these savings for this fiscal budget and school year?
This fiscal year, correct.
Thank you.
Is there any motion? Just call it. You have a
I'm
question?
sorry, I got another question.
Go for it.
Because he says, but it's for this year, this is a partial year. Are there going to be greater savings next?
Well, these were items that were included in the Alliance grant or included in our operating budget.
No, what I'm saying, this year is a partial year.
Correct.
Let's say that $400,000.
Correct.
That's
was,
not the entirety of the contract. That's the entirety of the savings
that would be the savings, correct.
for the remaining time of this year.
Correct.
And next year will be.
We're dropping certain programs, but we did not include that in the savings because we didn't have any intention of renewing it. So for instance, that's another.
So it's not included, it's not baked into the next year's budget.
Well, yeah, it's not included. That's another 2.6, but we didn't even include it because we're just not renewing.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Well,
Mr. Traber?
Sorry.
Good.
We didn't discuss projected savings for next year. Do we have a projection?
Well, that would be when we had talked about two buckets when we presented at the instructional support committee. One was the 1.2 million, which were costs that were included in the Alliance grant and in the operating budget that we were cutting. And then we also included items that we were going to eliminate and not renew. But Dr. Avery and Dr. Saki, when we discussed those items, we didn't deem that to be a saving because we're just not going to renew it next year. So things like actively learn, things like relay, we're not renewing them. So we didn't say we were going to save it. We're just not renewing it.
Actually, we did talk about a savings for next year. I'm looking for my notes on that relay. That was going to save us
1.8
to be discontinued. Yeah, 1.9 and 1.9 approximately, 1.899.
Carnegie Learning Professional Development, we weren't
25,
going,
26 and beyond.
right, we weren't going to renew that again for 348,000. But because we didn't include it, we're just eliminating, we're not going to put it even in the budget, so we didn't
Right,
deem
so
it to
we
be.
didn't total up what we thought our savings would be, but we listed
That's
a
true.
number of savings that we anticipated for next year.
Yeah.
That would be 2.6 million.
Yeah, it was discussed with the committee about the savings, but not necessarily added it to the budget. So we talked about that, just like you're saying, we went through each one of those and had a discussion around that.
Yeah, that we're in the packet and
Yes.
in the presentation.
That's
We
correct.
didn't total it.
That's correct.
We didn't make a presentation on total savings for next year, but there was a discussion on
Yes.
things that we anticipated in savings for next year's budget.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Correct. And that total, I totaled that for you for tonight, and that comes to 2.6 million. That would be the relay, the Carnegie, the 1 year for Actively Learn, Ed Solutions, Empowering Writers, and the Moby Max.
Does that include, I guess I guess what I'm asking then is, does that include the rollover savings from what we're saving this year?
No. Because we're just cutting it this year.
Explain that again. Ask your question again.
The rollover savings, you cut something this year, you're also, that savings then accumulates next year, right? Some of it, not all of it
Yeah,
necessarily.
it depends on if it was purchased, 2 years, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, wherever we decided to come in at, we're going to eliminate it, not continue it. There's not really a savings because we've already paid for it over the life of the 3 to 4 years. You know what I'm saying? So if we're like at the last 6 months of the program,
Right.
we're not going to add that 6 month savings because it's already paid for. So we will, and if we're not going to use it, we'll use those funds in another way, or use it for, instead of a grant funding, we could use it from the operating budget.
Correct, but on the other hand, some of it is money that we cut it this year, we make savings this year, that continues. It's a program that would have continued next year, we're gonna continue to save it. That's what I'm asking.
Theoretically.
Some of that.
Theoretically, yes. I agree with you on that. Yes, sir.
So it's money that we're not gonna spend next year either, because we cut it out this year.
Right.
Correct.
And we're looking for alternative programs. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is the state has a
Free
number of
programming.
different programs that we could utilize for free.
The free
We just have to
curriculum.
figure out and align it to what we're currently doing and the practice that we're using and doing. So that's going to be another opportunity for us to.
And one of the things that we did talk about was the development of the curriculum for next year.
Yeah.
In conjunction with the unions and the staff and
Yes.
what the state offers for free, because Ms. Perez and I had looked at just recently the state presentation on the social studies curriculum that are available. And one of the things they talked about was that, the same availability of a multitude of options are available in multiple areas, obviously. And I just one other question I wanted to clarify. You keep saying now Alliance and operational budget. My recollection of the presentation at the committee meeting was it was Alliance and ESSER.
ESSER is
My notes,
done.
if I go back and look at them, I'm gonna show my notes said Alliance and ESSER. So now you're saying Alliance and operation. So I just want to be clear about why you're saying it differently.
Let's take Relay for instance. Relay was purchased with ESSER, and now that ESSER is already gone, we pay a portion of the bill, through ESSER. And when we stopped, the opportunity with the company, that money was shifted to pay some things from operating. So it's one of those things internally. That's kind of what we do. I think Joe can kind of understand. I think Joe understands that. But Nestor, we did a shift in the funding source, I guess you could say, with that.
I think I understand it too, but I just want to make sure it's clearly stated for everybody to understand.
Absolutely.
That it's the ESSER money that we were using in the operating fund. So.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna do Mr. Sokolovic and then Ms. Casimir after Mrs. Sokolovic.
All due respect, may I have Mr.
Your microphone.
Yes, sir.
May I have Mr. Unquo at the, I got a more budgetary question rather than programmatic. Thank you, Mr.
Good evening, everyone. Good
Yes, sir.
evening.
Yeah, my question is, at the finance meeting, you presented a document. It says of, I believe, December 2024 was
Okay.
updated. Are these numbers baked into that or no? These will be additional savings on top of what we need to.
The additional, no, because we were not aware of it.
Okay, so we could subtract from that 2.6, 1.2 more if we approve this tonight and get us down to 1.4 million.
Yeah, through the chair, all we're going to do, we're gonna have to validate, I have to validate their numbers. What we have to do is basically try to find expenditures within the operating budget that fit within those grant categories and allowable by the state. Then we will either through journal entry, move those expenditures or those charges to the grant account, thereby relieving the operating budget of any potential shortfall during the end of the year. With all the things going on, I shouldn't say I assured the board in the finance committee meeting, I did imply that I'm pretty confident that we're going to end up this year not in a deficit. However, next year is a challenge, big challenge.
Thank you. We're going to Miss Casimir, then Mr. Medina.
On the page that says Khan Academy.
Yes.
The rationale, high school teachers have requested an alternative to Dreambox that offers additional advanced level mathematics courses. So we have the name of what they requested as an alternative yet?
Using Khan Academy instead of Dreambox.
Oh, it's Khan Academy instead of Dreambox.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
All
the
right.
quote that we had in the budget was greater than what we had a downward revision in the quote. By a tune of 160,000. And we're meeting tomorrow with, Tito is actually meeting tomorrow with Dreambox, and we're hoping, no guarantees, but to get a credit towards our K-8 Dreambox usage for the high school Dreambox feature that we've already prepaid for.
I totally get it now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Medina, then Mr. Traber.
Sorry. Since she touched on that one, I have that one up. So Khan Academy is going to be replacing Dreambox.
Correct, for the high school only.
For the high school only.
Yeah, the higher math classes.
Okay. And what's the comparison with them? Like Khan Academy compared to that Dreambox?
Yeah, it's much better for our higher math classes because what Dreambox had said they were going to offer us for our high school math is not what they actually came through with. And so what we're doing is providing the Khan Academy to our high school classes instead of the Dreambox.
So
now going back to Dreambox and saying, listen, this is what you promised, you didn't come through. How about giving us some credit towards our K-8 usage?
If they don't listen to you, send Tito afternoon.
Oh, I'm sending
Gotcha.
Tito. Tito's
so
on it.
Bring your attention to one of the things in our packet where it states programs to be discontinued.
Correct.
I think it's right after. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet points there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all savings that are going to be for next school year.
Correct. But the cost, and I'll just, for instance, Actively Learn, that was a 5-year license. So when I came up with the 2.6 million, I divided that by 5 to come up with a yearly cost. So that was the 5-year cost for Actively Learn.
941.
941.
5 years.
That was a 5-year.
So that's not what we're saving.
No.
Okay.
No, I calculated a yearly cost, which was 188,000.
Okay, so out of those numbers that I added up, I know I come up with a higher number. You're saying that will be about 2.6.
2.6, correct. But we didn't look at it as a true savings because we're just not renewing it.
It's a true savings for us when we look at our budget for next year, because then we don't think so.
It's not going to be in there.
Yep.
It's not in there now. It's not going to be in there.
Thank you for the correction, because that math wasn't mathing for me.
Yeah.
That was like 3.3, 3.4, and you said 2.6.
Yeah.
Got you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Traber.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct myself. At the meeting, we said it was paid with Alliance and Title I.
Correct.
Is there a motion?
It's already made and
Is
seconded.
it- Okay, any further debate on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I
That motion-
abstain.
Ms. Casimir abstains. That motion passes. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Thank you for presenting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. I do want to bring to your attention that we put out a survey to the Bridgeport community. That survey has been out for about 2 weeks now. I was able to, it ended on Friday when I pulled the result of that survey. It was about 1,000, community members that took part in that one question survey about what they felt about the state coming in to provide technical assistance and training for the district. And what I did is I was able to, in the portal, you have a summary document of the summary of the results of that survey. There is a couple of pages where there is a summary, some highlights of some of the categories of the highlight. There is a PowerPoint presentation with data sources of the individuals that took the survey, the number of responses from the campus level, and then there is a word cloud at the end. And at the last 3 pages of the document is just an overview or an overall statement of what the community people talked about and what they said about their feelings about the state coming into the district. And so what I've done before you, there is a QR code. Anybody out in the public, you can scan the QR code and you'll get a copy of my presentation. This is a very fluid presentation, but what I wanted knowing that the state's coming in and trying to help the district to be a little bit more focused on the things that we're going to be doing over the next 6 months. The board's going to be going out for another superintendent search. I wanted to make sure that I had the ability to have my team focus on some of the things that the community is wanting for the district to focus in on. So what I've done for you guys this morning in my superintendent report is just, a presentation around rebuilding a stronger Bridgeport, a foundation with students at the center. So really making sure if we do these things or some of these things, in addition to some of the other things that we're going to be doing, but as long as we focus over the next couple of months, we should see success. We should see, engagement in this with the community, the transparency of the things that we're doing, the data that we need, moving forward. So I just kind of wanted for you guys to give me an opportunity to kind of go through and work through some of it and work from there. So when some of the strategic goals that I'm looking at, it evolves around 5 different areas. And the first one is to secure adequate funding and funding accountability. And what that really focuses in on is trying to make sure that we have an advocacy group in this community with the board, with my staff, with community members, with community organizations to get out there and advocate for some dollars and making sure that we do it in a collective manner. There's going to be opportunities for us to collaborate with other districts, meet with other superintendents, writing letters, making presentations. Again, really just trying to have a collective, effort in making sure that we fight for the funds for our children in this district. Really looking at, grant opportunities, being able to make sure that when we do, secure, those additional dollars, that we hold ourselves accountable for the use of those dollars and have targeted, mechanisms to be able to make sure that we're, putting those dollars in the right areas to get the right results for all children in this district. I think that's very important. I know the board has put out an RFP to do an audit on the district funding opportunities and budgets and things like that. So if that comes back in a meaningful way and we can get that started, that's going to also help with internal protocols and internal focal points of holding ourselves accountable for doing and utilizing dollars the right way. And so I'm looking forward to exploring those possibilities as well. Those internal controls, I think we have kind of got laxed on those internal controls. I think we have to, really retrain ourselves to do it the way it needs to be done in a very transparent way, making sure that we do things that's going to be out there so that the community can see. And it's, and again, giving ourselves an opportunity to teach and train and support the things that we're doing with our finances in the district as well. Number 2 talks about enhancing teacher and principal support, for better outcomes. That's huge. The heart of what we do in this district is the things that teachers and administrators do. They're the experts, at the ground level. We should be able to entice and pull that information from them to be able to help us do our jobs even better from a central office perspective. Making sure we have a lot of new people, providing mentorships and ways to better help leaders transition into the new roles. Bridgeport is a very impactful urban school district. And in the urban school district, we deal with different types of scenarios and different types of challenges. And so we sometimes have to re-educate not only our teachers, but our leaders, not only at the campus level, but even at the central office level, ways of being able to do the work a little bit different. So again, it's a collaborative effort, making sure that we hold ourselves accountable, not only at the campus level, but at the district level, having, matrix, set forth to say, we want to see this much increase, per campus in order to be able to maintain and gain these potential, academic metrics at the end of the school year. So again, a lot of those opportunities where we're, collecting feedback from our parents and our community members and being able to kind of replicate the things that the community is wanting us to kind of, pay attention to. Again, it's all about communication. It's all about making sure that we have the professional development training to utilize the programs that we have, to utilize and understand the data that we get from these programs in order to make sure that we're, making sure that, we're on point at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and at the end of the year, that we're meeting the goals along the way. So that's very important. The third focal point is, really supporting the special education programs in this district. That is one of the major, focal points that we're going to be concentrating in, not only for this year, but on the upcoming years as well. We know we've established a special education task force to get input from teachers and making sure that we're getting input from principals and most of all, getting input from parents. The parents have a lot to say, and we haven't given that avenue to be able to do that. So we're setting up, communication protocols to be able to get that feedback from them, and sending this exchange out to the community and having them respond has been a really, really big eye opener for us, that parents want to know. They want to add value to the things that we're doing and kind of work from there. Really understanding, the operation manual in our special ed, redefining programs that we have in a building, redefining, protocols of how supervisors supervise and support campuses, really making sure that we can really reintroduce inclusionary practices in this district and making sure that every kid that goes through our educational system has an opportunity to engage with the peers that may not have a disability. That is a huge opportunity that we need to just do a little bit more of. And I think everybody is ready to that change. There was a research project done by the University of Arizona, where some recommendations came forth, to this district on what they could do to, change the way we do special education in the district. And so this report is going to be going to the the special education task force, and really we're gonna pull some of those recommendations and try to implement a lot of those recommendations, because those recommendations were based on district data. So it'd be a great opportunity for us to pull that data and utilize some of those recommendations moving forward in the transitioning into a new special education division in Bridgeport Public Schools. So again, that is a real huge focal point. One of the other issues that we're dealing with special ed is the teacher shortage. Working with our universities, we have very, engaging opportunities to, engage with University of Hartford, Bridgeport, University of Bridgeport, Housatonic, just all local universities that train not only paraprofessionals, but teachers to try to make sure that we get more of those content area teachers integrated into our school district. And so that's another way that we're going to really try to train and recruit and keep those specialized teachers in our district. The fourth focal point in what we're doing is to promote transparency, accountability, and community engagement. I feel that the community they're ready, they're willing, and now we have to kind of engage them a little bit. And we have to have a plan of how we're going to do that. And so we're going to talk a little bit more in the next couple of months on really making sure that we're going to be able to guide them, train them, clarify things for them in order for them to understand where we're going. And this 6-month strategic plan is going to be a precursor for either the next superintendent or myself to be able to make an expanded 5 to 10 year strategic plan to be able to provide a larger vision for what we're wanting to do in Bridgeport Public Schools when it comes to educating children in this district. So very excited about that. A lot of new opportunities with the new resources that we have. Our communications department has a new email address for communications@bridgeportedu.net, where community members can shoot emails to that inbox, and it goes directly to communications, and they can answer their questions pretty instantaneously. And then as you move to the last goal, I think which is very important to this board. I know for myself and my administrative team, principals and teachers and parents and the community in general, is really to improve academic achievement and student growth. That's why we're here, and we have to start having deeper conversations about, where our kids are and where we want our kids to be and how do we get there along the way. I think having meaningful conversations about, really the instructional piece, making sure that we have assessments, and assessments are going to be critical to how we gauge, which kids are in which programs, and really guiding that work, really looking at making sure our parents understand state assessment and clarifying how they can support their children, on the academic stance, even if they don't really understand the academic piece. But supporting, listening to their children is a huge opportunity for parents to engage, their children. And so as you see, there's 5 areas. They're very, it's a very fluid 5, focal points with a lot of initiatives within those 5, points. The board, once you go through it, if there's any additional opportunities to add to those 5 categories, I welcome that. I think it's important that we, collectively understand, but when the state comes in for that technical assistance, they have to understand that we have five focal points for my staff to be able to make sure that we do. Special ed is a huge part of that. Academic growth is another part of that. Leadership development, with teachers, administrators, myself and the board is another part of that. Those are three functional pieces that will, I think, keep us focused and keep us on the right track to do and see success at the end of the 6 months. So, Madam Chair, if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer any of those.
Can you share the study, the University of Arizona study with the board?
Yes, that is a pretty lengthy,
I know.
but yes, I will get that out. Olivia, we can get that out. We'll get that out to you first thing tomorrow. It's been in the district since I think 22, but no one's really did anything with the data. So, when I read through it, I'm like, they have great recommendations for doing the things and doing the business different. And so we're going to engage those. It's already done. It's specifically, looking at Bridgeport schools and what they currently did back in 2020, I think 21 and 22, which is pretty similar to what we're doing right now. Nothing really changed on that. So again, we'll make sure that report gets out to the board as well.
Thank you, Mr. Takalovich.
Yeah, just a comment, not to be overly critical, but with the thought exchange surveys, the question was good, but it seems like maybe we should provide a little background, because the only people that really would grab onto like state intervention would be people who are already like really paying real close attention, and those are the people we're going to get responses from. The people who are more active, maybe it would be. I got the criticism. I'm trying to get to the constructive part, but I'm struggling.
No, I think, to be honest with you, when you really dig deep into the survey, it talks a little bit about all of it. It talks about supportive, skeptical, and there's a lot of people in the middle. They're hopeful, and I think that's the message that I received from this survey. Everybody's all over the place, and so people are going to start, being able to kind of, line up to the area that they're best, from their mindset or from their family perspective, fall in. And then depending on how we do and how focused we are, we're gonna win a lot of those positive perspectives over. Right. So I'm hopeful too.
Yeah. It was just more about not about the responses, but about like maybe the setup for the question. Like, for instance, in this one, maybe I would probably like to see something like the letter from the state to the board, or the board letter to the state, just to give people a little background about what's going on, rather than just
those documents will be posted on the website. So you're saying so that they can see it and read it and understand it. And there's been a lot of conversation around those 3 points: the training, the budget, the special ed, and that kind of thing. So I think they have enough to be able to understand it, but I think our job now is to kind of rehash it and make them understand exactly where they are with it.
Just my view.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Casimir?
First of all, Dr. Avery, I just wanted to say thank you for these goals. Personally, as a board member, it helps guide and just kind of like give us more information so that we can advocate more efficiently and effectively for funding, for special ed, so forth and so on. And I have just a few very super quick questions, and I guess I have a tendency to my questions sometimes are not appropriate for tonight, or they're appropriate for a committee, or they're not. So I don't have a problem with, redirecting my questions to the appropriate committee if that's what need be. I just never, ever apologize for asking questions, because what I find out is that usually at least one other board member has the same question and didn't know the answer to it. One important question I want to ask you is, homeschoolers, people who teach their kids from home, do those kids take state tests or no?
I don't think I don't think they do, because the parent is really guiding the educational value add to it, and the state doesn't mandate that they take those assessments.
Okay, so there's really no real way of measuring whether they're being effectively homeschooled, meaning are they on the same level as the kids that are actually in the classroom?
No, because again, the parent guides that or not. That
Gotcha.
instructional build for their own individual child if they're in a homeschool setting.
Okay, and very quickly, is there any update on when the data management department will have a system in place to monitor test scores in each and every single classroom in each and every single school? Just wanted to know if you had an update on that.
I'm not 100% clear about data management doing that.
Okay, I'll just follow up with through email with that one. So
Yeah, if you send me an email, I can get some clarity for you so you're clear and make sure all board members get the same response. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. And has do we have any plans on asking the staff, if you haven't already, that I know of, asking the staff and the faculty, the teachers, for a survey, asking them like what they want in a superintendent or what they would like to see in a superintendent? Has that survey already gone and I just don't know about it? I'm sorry if it has.
I'm not aware of a survey going. I'm not in charge of that.
That would probably be something we do when we start the search, but that would probably be the board. That would definitely be the board doing that.
Okay. That's it for now. Thank you.
Mr. Traber? Mike, can you put your microphone on for?
Sorry. On the survey, total number of participants?
If you,
Yeah, I think,
it's in your packet.
yeah, it's on the,
Yeah, I didn't go through the whole packet. I was trying to listen to the presentation. Okay, so I got it.
you have another question?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I appreciate these goals, Dr. Avery, and I want to just comment because I think it's important for people to see the perspective. A number of weeks ago, maybe even a month or more now, you and Mayor Ganem and 4 other of your colleagues were up in Hartford asking the state to provide us with about $550 million in additional funding. And it obviously, you said half of that money should come to the 5 cities that you represented. And I'm rounding my numbers here just for the sake of this presentation, but that would have meant about $50 million more for Bridgeport. Obviously, $50 million would go a long way here. If you've been listening, paying attention to our discussions, $50 million would take care of our problem next year. And so it would be nice if the governor would listen to you. And just recently, Mr. Sokolovic and I were talking about this. If you take a look at the amount of money per student spent on the governor's hometown in Greenwich, and you take a look at the amount of money spent per student on Bridgeport, if we spent the same, Bridgeport would have about $140 or $50 million more per year to spend on our students. To give you another example of the inequity that we're talking about that exists in the state of Connecticut. Similar inequities exist for other cities around the state of Connecticut, but just comparing Bridgeport. So when he comes down and sits in this room and tells us money doesn't fix all your problems, I'd like to try to spend $150 million to spend on our district to see it fix our problems. I'd like to try the 50 million, frankly, to fix some of our problems. But just balancing our budget next year is not going to fix our problems. And I remember a couple of years ago, Representative Felipe Antonio saying that he was in another district down the Gold Coast, and he would just like to see our kids get the same chance as those kids. And when we went to Westport recently for the regional legislative breakfast, boy, that was a heck of a high school to walk around. Just a heck of a high school. And I'd like to see our kids have the same sort of facilities and opportunities that I saw those kids engaging in and enjoying. And that's really what we're aspiring to. We're not aspiring to just balance our budget next year. We're aspiring to be able to offer our children the same opportunities that those children are having, because our children can do just as well as any other child down the Gold Coast if they had the opportunities that those children have. And that's what we believe in this city. So I'd like to see that happen. And I do appreciate these goals here, and hope that people will be there on the 20th to testify for the kind of funding that our state can afford right now. And be fighting for that kind of money in this legislative session for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Benahan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to comment, but I'm going back to what Mr. Travers said. I agree with him, but I still remember when he go and have the governor say, the money's not going to the classroom. Guess what, Governor? If he listens to me, whoever want to send a message to him, come and stay with Bridgeport. Stay a week with Dr. Avery. Stay a few days with one of the board members. Stay one day with all the cabinet and talk to them. Sit down, listen to them to see exactly what we do with the money, especially, facility. They do a lot of things for the school to be sure our school has safety, clean, organized, everything. It's very easy to say, oh, the money's not going to the classroom. Guess what? Yes, it's going to the classroom. It's going to the whole Bridgeport Public School. But as I say, can one week sit down with Dr. Avery, with one of the board members, each one of them, listen to us, listen to the cabinet, and then he can know what we do in the Bridgeport. Because it's very easy to say things, out for my mouth. But especially with Mr. Nestor, the financial, he can tell you how the money go. So, that comment for me was very, I didn't like it, because before you say something, you have to see it and see the fact. But I'm going with that, Dr. Avery. The short time, I have to say thank you for everything you do. I know one of us, each one here, board members, you, cabinet, we challenge a lot of things, but we don't ever give up for Bridgeport Public School. And I'm very appreciative for the short time, everything you do. And I know it's a lot of things in your plate, but as you say, good communication, but don't forget with good respect, we can get great successful. I told you, you're not alone. We can work together as a team for the best future for our students. And thank you for the cabinet, because I know you guys do a lot of things, and you help Dr. Avery and you help our parents. I really appreciate all your hard work. You guys are not alone too, because sometimes people, they think, oh, the board members, but who's behind us? You guys. You guys are there to support us, help us, the IT department, everything, everybody, it's included, it's a team. People, they don't see people, they don't see our team. It's only one person. We a team. So thank you for the short time, everything you do, so I know we're going to keep forward, and we're going to do a lot of things for our Bridgeport Public School. Thank you, Madam Chair. No more comments.
Mr. Medina?
Yes, I just want to thank that again, Dr. Avery, for this, for me, very simple, very foundational, that it couldn't get more clear. And I think our public is going to be able to read this, understand it, see the simplicity of it, but also the power of it and where we can be collectively. The only one that I would like to see adjusted a little bit, because I even challenged the state when I spoke before them, is goal number 5. It says improve academic achievement and student growth. The way the state sees it is student growth will affect academic achievement. So they have it like, once a student grows, there's growth, then we can get higher achievement. But without that, so just if you want to change that one, I wouldn't mind if you did or didn't, but I just want to say, because I called out the state on that. And again, like the governor was here, as my colleague said, you know, he was making comments about the board member that was saying the money symbol. Again, I just want to get certified teachers and paras and the staff inside the classrooms. And I know that our kids are gonna surprise everyone. But our demographics, apples to apples, compared to our neighboring towns, they're not the same. So we have bigger challenges, but thank you for this simple presentation, but powerful one. And again, like my colleague also said, you have a team. Your success is our success as a board. Our success is your success. So please continue to let them know that we're a team. We're not looking to move past this team. We're looking to get this working. That way we can get our children to a better place. That way we can get the state to look at us in a different light, and then let them collaboratively walk in and here, whatever they want to do, it's up to them. But to know that we're working. Thank you for saving us even more money. I know he thanks you over there, because we didn't see that. You guys did it. We didn't do it. We didn't ask for it, but you guys did it. But again, we're a team in this, guys, every single one of us. And I just want everyone to understand, this is the team that we're working with. This is the team that we want here. And then we'll build from this. I love foundational stuff, because that's where we can build. With a firm foundation, we can build. So I appreciate this report and your patience in having us adjust your thing. Thank you very much.
And the reason for that is that academic achievement, you can take the smallest growth, that's academic achievement. So it really goes hand in hand. And so wherever you look at it, I look at growth as achievement. You know, I mean, it may not necessarily be an academic growth, but a personal, growth of a kid just being able to stay and pay attention to, pay attention to the teacher. You know, that's a personal growth for a kid. And then eventually they will get the academic growth. So I understand, but I think once we start kind of having deeper conversations around that, I think the community is going to understand that I just need the smallest growth. If they're moving forward an inch, I'm loving it, because they made growth and they made some achievement, and that little, small little amount of growth will, when everybody around us make the small amount of growth, that's achievement. And you will see it, and you celebrate that. And so that's really what it's all about. So, but it's, I think you're going to get the clarity once we start having deeper conversations around it. And so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Any further questions for Dr. Avery?
I move to adjourn.
Is there any other business?
Go ahead.
Motion to adjourn?
So move.
It's already moved by Mr. Medina, but Mr. Bennett, do you want to second it? I guess he seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, yeah, carries.
I think we were already looking for that. Sorry.
It's not.